All right, welcome to part two.
So moving on to another matchup. I guess we'll just dive into quickly into my matchup with Villa just to rip the band-aid off. What happened was I'm just so frustrated still. I'm
I
over it. I'm over it, but
feel
I
it.
just thought, being down by 10 or a little less than 10 heading into Monday night with Jefferson, Jake Elliott, and Dawson Knox, and him only having Tyler Bass. I'm not gonna lie, I felt very confident. I was like,
Yes.
I really didn't need big performances. Like,
Mm-mm.
I didn't need anything like huge from any of the guys. But it ended up being not enough. And I think it really helped Avila that Tyler Bass got 12 points because that, raised the deficit a little bit to, make it somewhat a bit uncomfortable.
Yep.
But yeah, Avila squeezed out a victory, and I hate Kirk Cousins. I hate him.
Yes.
I literally hate him.
You can never trust Kirk Cousins in prime time. I'm telling you,
He missed some throws.
he
I
should
don't
have had 5 picks.
I don't even think it was Justin Jefferson's fault. I think at one point Troy Aikman blamed the interception on Justin Jefferson, and I was watching. I was like, I'm pretty sure he ran the right route. It's just that Kirk Cousins he's not good. He's just not good. It's
He's
just
not good in prime time.
he
So
was
the thing with Kirk Cousins, though, right on that interception that you pointed out,
yeah.
I think what Troy Aikman was saying is that you see that Darius Slay is coming down. The
Mhm.
wide receiver has to keep in front of Darius Slay.
Yeah.
But if Kirk Cousins just throws the ball over the top of Darius Slay's head, we're not talking about this at all.
It's just the accuracy was just non-existent. It's like he wanted to target Slay, and
Yeah. And he honestly should have had 5 interceptions that game, to be honest.
I just could not. I literally almost threw up because I just needed one catch. But again, it goes back to like how my team left points on the table, and it's just that's part of fantasy. Marquise Brown, one of his touchdowns got called back. He dropped a pass. Jake Elliott's freaking field goal got blocked. I would have won. I would have won. What else am I missing? Those are the big three things that stand out.
Yeah.
Obviously, Kirk Cousins is a big factor. Those four things combined, everything was going against me. And it just didn't help that my top guys weren't able to perform. So, Villa
especially Jonathan Taylor against the Jaguars. Dude, I swear I think the Colts have Kirsten Jackson. I swear.
That really screwed me because the Colts offense, they were down big, so the game script was completely against me.
Yeah. But like the same thing happened in week 1. They were down playing the Texans, and Jonathan Taylor still went off.
That Colts Jacksonville game screwed me because I had the Colts defense as well, and they got me 0. So credit to Abdullah. Like none of my players besides Lamar Jackson and Christian Kirk got into double digits. So like that can't really happen.
Yeah.
Lamar carried me throughout the week. Christian Kirk was awesome, but like I just couldn't get big time performances. So that was a matchup, and he had some pretty consistent performances. Joe Burrow,
Nick Chubb exploded.
Oh, another thing that went against me was Nick Chubb was supposed to kneel on a third touchdown, but instead he freaking scored.
So and then they lost the game.
And he came out today saying he lost in the game. And I was like, oh my God, if he had just kneeled, I would have won the game. I would have won it.
Hey, let's go back 1 second. And Nick Chubb did something similar like 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Chubb could have won the game. It was 10-7 against I don't remember what team, but he goes out of bounds at the 1-yard line in that game, and they win the game.
Yeah.
But this time around, they're like, "Oh, we can make it a 3-score game. I'm just going to score a touchdown." I'm like, "Come on now.
It's just everything that was supposed to go against me went against me, and that's just sometimes I have to kind of eat that because that happens to everyone. It just sucks that it happens against the love more often than not.
I know, right?
2-7 against him. That's pitiful. That needs to change. I know if one of the listens to this, he's gonna be smiling and laughing. So I'm glad
Oh,
I could give you
100%.
some entertainment. But his team, put up a pretty solid effort. There's players that are trending in the right direction. So
Mhm.
yeah, let's move on to happier matchups.
Yes.
Um, let's talk about Afan and Mazomo's matchup real quick. What stood out to you there?
Well, definitely the Kirk Cousins thing. You see that. You're supposed to see that.
Mhm.
But I think AJ Brown could have had a little bit better game. But Cordero, I wasn't high against. I wasn't really excited about him playing against the Rams, but only scoring 4 points. Really?
That'll be something interesting to see. Tyler Algier got 10 carries too. So
Yeah.
um well,
Also, did you see? Are we going to talk the league news right now or a little bit later?
go ahead, go for it, man.
Did you see that trade with Zomo and Shiana there?
Yeah, let's get into that since we're on the topic of Mazombo. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, that was an interesting trade to say the least. I'm not sure if I would have done that trade if I was Mazomo because I'm
You give
maybe
it?
maybe my power rankings made him kind of desperate for a quarterback because I went in on Kirk Cousins. I was like,
Oh
Kirk
yeah.
Cousins isn't it? And it seems like Dak Prescott is going to be returning sooner than rather than later. So
Yep.
I don't know. Like I'm never a fan of trading for a quarterback that to me is a streaming option.
See, like I think last year, right? I had the same situation, but
Hmm,
I got Joe Burrow instead
exactly.
of,
Yeah.
and Joe Burrow won me the week.
So I don't see that same upside with Matthew Stafford.
I
Like,
don't
and
either, but he still has Cooper Cup. He still has Allen Robinson.
mhm.
We can see we can still see like a massive upgrade over Kirk Cousins, but I don't know if it was significant enough for him to
But
get to the
it makes less
playoffs.
sense when you have Dak Prescott on the roster. So like you're trading, even though you're not trading, I wouldn't say you're trading too much. Like, DJ Chark, fine. I mean,
Also,
he's
like
a bench
I
guy.
treat Pat Fryermuth there.
Pat Fryermuth is someone I probably wouldn't have traded for a quarterback because I'm
Yeah,
looking at the trend.
because
Seven,
like if you think about that tight end position, you it's so hard. It's
mhm,
so hard.
looks like the fawn is joining, but yeah.
Fun.
Um,
What's up,
look,
boy?
yeah, it looks like Pat Fryermuth has some momentum, 17 targets through 2 games. So
Yeah,
again, I just think Mazomo really
I think he lost the trade.
seems like he panicked there. I'm not gonna lie, Mazomo, if you're listening to this, I love you, bro, but it looks like it's a bit of a panic move. You could have streamed another quarterback without trading it. Like DJ Chark, that's fine, you can trade him, but Pratt
Yeah,
Fireman, like who's
Pat
this guy?
Fryermuth, heartbreaker.
I mean, he still has Dallas Goddard, which is fine, but
Yeah,
again,
I still see this as interesting that Zaire and Shion wanted to trade for a tight end there, where
mhm.
you have Irv Smith already on the roster. And in the last game, you saw that Kirk Cousins was targeting Irv Smith a lot.
It seems like they're looking for ways to bolster the flex position a bit. So
Yeah, but like, would you start two tight ends in Irv Smith and Pat Fryermuth? I don't know.
you can if you wanted to.
Yeah,
But since Afon's on, Afon, take us through your matchup with Mazomo. What stood out to you?
You hear me?
Yeah.
yeah,
What's
Okay.
up? What's up? Yeah, so y'all want to pray back for another season of maybe heartbreak. It was important for me to get a win in week 2. Week 1, I had a very tough loss to Klaus. Team played well. Week 2, my team struggled a little bit, but I had a lot of anomalies. I feel like in week 2, Leonard Fournette had a pretty bad week. Mixon had a bad week. Devonta Adams had a bad week. Patrick Mahomes had a pretty bad week, fantasy wise. So team underperformed. Luckily, I was able to pull away with the win. I'm happy that T Higgins has showed that he play well, and hopefully, is going to be that guy, that 1,000-yard receiver they wanted to be this year. So happy about that. Tony Pollard, I'm really happy about. He looked pretty explosive. And looked like that he's going to be a huge part of their offense going forward, especially with Dak hurt. You know, a lot of check downs, a lot of just, you know, random handoffs when Zeke is out of the game. So I was really happy about that. I think I will probably have to make a trade at some point during the season and maybe grab a tight end or a running back because I think
Gerald
tight
Everett
end
is
is
pretty good.
Gerald Everett looks good, but I think tight end is the one spot I can improve because I have like a plethora of receivers because Garrett Wilson has showed some
Ooh.
big. So I was really high on
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson
Garrett Wilson,
in the
yeah.
season. I have Hopkins coming back. I already have Mike Williams and Brandon Cooks kind of as my wide receiver, like 2 or 3. You know,
And
D
Devon-
Higgins,
Jeez.
Devontae Adams. So like my wide receiver spot, alhamdulillah, right now is pretty like, you know,
Isn't-
set. So
It's loaded. It's loaded.
Yes,
yeah, so
100%.
my running backs are, you know, my top 2 running backs are obviously really good. But, you know, and Tony Pollard, if he can kind of solidify himself as the guy in Dallas, that would really help my team. But tight end, obviously, I'm kind of streaming at this point. And Joku just, you know, it's bad. It's terrible.
Yeah.
So Gerald Everett was I was happy that I drafted him. You know, I kind of took a look at him because he's in a high powered Chargers offense, but you know, we'll see with Herbert how he's looking, how if he's playing, if he's going to be limited and whatnot. And that could kind of cap what Gerald Everett's production is. But I think I'm happy where my team is sitting right now. I feel like there's little holes in my team, and in the past, I felt like like the past couple of years, especially where I've been, the last 2 or 3 years. I think 3 years ago I finished last, so I was pretty bad that year. But the last 2 or 3 years, I've been kind of at the I was kind of in this point of like mediocrity where I'm about to hit the playoffs, or I'm just gonna, you know, I'll put together a string of wins and then I'll lose like a bunch. So I'm happy where I am right now. I think I have a pretty strong team, and you know, I think I can make it pretty far this year, if not win it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For
100%.
sure.
We just had to make sure that the Bengals offense is what we're expecting it to be, right?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah,
like
that's been kind of a concern for me. It's just I think they will go back to normal. The first couple weeks they've been pretty weird, to
yeah,
say the least. You know, we're seeing that they might be having a little bit of a hangover. Their offensive line is just terrible. Still, I don't know why it's so bad still.
Garbage.
yeah, on paper it should be amazing. On
It
paper.
Yeah, and that's why everyone was so high on them again this year, is because their offensive line was supposed to be really good. But I think they'll settle in their own.
Yeah.
I think they need to run the ball more. They're throwing it so much. I think they need to establish the run early on in their games, and that'll open up their offense.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. If it doesn't go back to normal, then you know my team is definitely a little bit weaker with, you know, Mixon not being the guy. That's the problem with Mixon too. It's like every time I have him, it seems like he's just so, you know, up and down. Like because last year he was like a top 5 running back. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see what happens. But you know, I think he'll be fine.
For sure.
Sure.
All right. Speaking of slow offenses that have kind of concerned me, let's talk a little bit about the Broncos offense and Russell Wilson. Moving on to
Ooh.
Carson Zed's matchup. How concerned are we about Russell Wilson?
On a scale of 1 to
I'd
10?
say yeah, I'd say I'm at a 6 right now, just because Nathaniel Hackett has proved to be a pretty bad coach to start off the season.
I think I'm at a 5 right now.
Okay.
Because Nathaniel Hackett's the first year actually being that coach.
Mhm.
I think it's going to take him a second
Yeah.
to get that under the wraps. And Nathaniel Hackett's been a really good OC in Green Bay.
Mhm.
Like, I think it'll be fun.
I'll agree with Zen on this. I think I'm on a 5 as well. I think Russ has periods in the year where he's very hot and cold. He might usually, I think it starts where he starts off super hot, always in the top of the MVP rankings right off the gate. This year, obviously, it's a new team, new situation. So he might have been in that one of those periods of his season where, you know, you know, kind of where he's kind of getting adjusted to different things and slowing down a little bit. And he might catch one of his hot streaks later on, which, history or kind of he's proved he always does because he's one of the best quarterbacks of our generation. But 5, I think, is an appropriate number, medium level of concern. They look very uninspiring. Being a Texans fan, I was pretty high on the Texans this year in terms of being like sneaky and grabbing a couple wins. Thought we should have gotten both those wins against the Colts and the Broncos, to be honest. But the Broncos look really flat. There's no all this hype going in to the season that, oh, look, the Broncos are back. It's all just fell to its face, to be honest, in the last couple of games. They should be able to get back, and they need to get back because they're probably in the toughest division in football. So
100%.
there's not much room for error left. So they need to get back onto their horses. One might
Yeah.
say.
Good one.
Also, if you remember correctly, the first year Aaron Rodgers was in this offensive system,
Mhm.
he took a full entire year to get to understand the offense. So the offensive system could be difficult. So that could be a factor too.
We'll see. I mean, they've got talent on the roster. Like they've got a lot of weapons on the roster. So we'll see if it picks up. In terms of this matchup between Horace and Zed, I think that, the guy that carried Horace this past week was Jalen Waddle, and how Miami just absolutely gashed that terrible Ravens secondary, just awful.
They almost lost me a matchup, man, because I had the
Yeah.
Ravens defense, and I was supposed to comfortably win this matchup, and they almost went down to 0,
Oof.
all the way up from 18 because they started the game off with a kick return touchdown.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I thought that I was like, all right, it's gonna be a good Sunday.
That's like 18 points right there.
Exactly.
Gosh, that man. They really went down that bad.
Speaking of that game, man, Hamza was at that game. I didn't realize that a couple days later.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize he was at the game, and what a game to go to. I think that was just maybe what is like 3rd or 4th NFL game. Like what a
game.
game to go to.
So like he went and like he left that morning from Houston
Mm,
and
Yeah.
he flew all the way back to Baltimore and he went to the game. Like
Wow.
Great game to go to. I mean, not as a Ravens fan, but still really fun
Yeah.
to watch, probably.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the craziest games.
Lamar Jackson had that 70-yard touchdown too in that game. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
there's just explosive play after explosive play in that game.
Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle had what? Above 150 yards both, and both of them had 2 touchdowns. Dude, talk
Yeah.
about the secondary being awful.
I think
know.
I think this game just proved that in the modern NFL, you have to have speed. If you
Yeah.
have speed, you will be fine. Because look, Tua doesn't have the biggest arm, but he has 2 of the fastest receivers in the league.
Oh,
Lamar Jackson, a very unconventional quarterback, but he is so fast, he's so elusive.
mhm.
And just showing you that speed kills in the NFL,
Yeah.
Speed absolutely kills in the NFL.
And having elite wide receivers, really important. Really.
But elite wide receivers were fast,
Yeah. And Tyreek Hill, perfect example, the fastest.
It's
I mean,
crazy.
Also, your elite wide receivers need to be able to run perfectly good routes,
Yeah.
right?
Jalen
Because like
Waddle.
you see Devontae Adams, right? He's
Yeah.
one of the elite route runners, and he's decently fast, but he's still like fast enough to get open
Jefferson, Cooper
by his
Kupp.
route run.
Yeah,
All-
that's the thing with receivers. Either you have speed or you have elite route running. Those two combinations of skill can get you where you want to be. Like Tyreek Hill, he's not like necessarily people don't, when they say route running, they don't say Tyreek Hill, but he can get past anyone and he can get open at any moment just because his speed just kills. He
Yeah.
gets off the line, he can create a separation in a matter of 1 second.
He truly is a nightmare to match up against.
And we talking about Cooper Kupp, like, also not known for his speed, but elite route running.
Yep.
Keenan Allen, not known for his speed, but elite route running,
Elite.
He's
But yeah, that was Horace's team. 34.6 points for Jalen Waddle. DeAndre Swift, 15.7. DeAndre Swift continues to be really good. Continues to get a good, but Horace does have a couple of injury concerns going in with James Conner leaving that game. He is a bit questionable. I am really, really concerned about DK Metcalf. Like really,
Oh, yeah.
really. I'm like my panic level there is probably at an 8
I
because
think I'm at a 9 right now.
Yeah, I'll go up there.
it's no knock to DK because he's one of
It's a
the
quarterback play.
premier receivers. This goes back to me and Zan were talking about earlier, Deontay Johnson, Terry McLaurin. We might have to group DK Metcalf here because the
Yeah.
quarterback play, your upside is so limited with Geno Smith. And yes, he had that week 1 where he
Yeah.
had a good game, but I mean it's still Geno Smith. Like let's be honest here. His upside is going to be capped, and so far the first 2 weeks it has been severely capped. 5.1
crazy.
points and 5.5 points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
13
Also,
2 games.
this Pete Carroll being that offensive, like being that guy, being that coach, he wants to run the rock and
Mhm.
play good defense.
That's all he
He
does.
doesn't want to pass the ball ever.
Never. He
Yeah.
didn't want to do it with Ross either. So like it's not going to change with Gino. So yeah, that's
mean-
why I stayed away from DK. Just stayed away.
Yeah, there was. I mean, DK is also. You're completely right. He's part of that group of receivers that just don't have a elite quarterback play. You look at someone like AJ Brown last year
Yeah.
had Ryan Tannehill, and look at his quarterback upgrade this year, and look at what he's been able to do in the first 2 weeks already. You know, just night and day difference. You knew he's an elite receiver. And
Yeah, but
just-
AJ
you just-
Brown, was able to produce with an average quarterback. Geno
Yeah, and
Smith's not average.
Yeah, for them, I agree. There's a little bit different because, like, I mean, they're running Derrick Henry and that elite running back too. You know, so you had play action getting open too, but it's just kind of in that same regard that you need a quarterback to feed you, regardless of how good you are. You know, you need a quarterback who can get you the ball, and Geno Smith just won't be able to. Before I head out, because I'm probably heading out soon. Zen, I just got to ask you about Elijah Mitchell, man. Before I head out, man, I told Zan on draft night, I was like, man, how did Zen, the four-time champion of our league, really drafted Elijah Mitchell that early? I was so confused by the pick.
I was shocked.
And I genuinely shocked by the pick. And now I read in the group me that you dropped it. So you want to care to explain before I leave?
We did explain this in the podcast earlier, but
Okay.
I'll explain again. It's just so hard. Like having one IR spot, I think Brian Robinson is that dude. And then Elijah Mitchell, like, I don't know how to keep him. Like, I'm looking for tight end spot like you are. Like, we're both streaming the tight end spot because we made to take out tight ends.
Yeah.
So, like, I was like, maybe I can get room for Taysom Hill because he gives me the ability to have him being a running tight end and the person that can catch the ball. I was like, dang.
Well, I understand why you dropped it, but take me through why you drafted. That's what I want.
Dude, like I think it's the best available running back on the board.
Oh, fair, but did you really trust him? Because I was talking.
Yeah, I trust him. I trust him.
He has severe injury concerns every year.
Yeah.
He's in an offense where the quarterback was supposed to run it a lot. He also had Deebo Samuel was supposed to run it a lot. So, and I think just I don't know, man.
like-
I didn't expect you to draft him, honestly.
To be honest, with the Deebo Samuel concern, I thought that was minimal this year
Okay.
because of his contract battle that he had with San Francisco in the offseason.
Yes.
It seemed like he didn't want to run the ball. So I was like, okay, he's not going to run the ball as much as he did last year.
Okay.
But week 1, I just saw, oh, he's just running the ball again. I'm like, dang, this really hurts.
Yeah. I think that was the point in your team where I was a little concerned when you drafted him. I was shocked, honestly.
Yeah.
But fair. I mean, it's fair. You thought that, the contract situation and, and obviously new offensive coordinator too. So.
Yeah.
And it might matter less if Javonte Williams just takes over completely.
Yeah.
And which I expect happens at some point in the season. So,
Yeah, I expect to.
And I also expect, speaking of Devontae Williams, I also expect Damian Pierce to at some point take over completely.
Oh, for sure. I think he takes over next week. The way that
They say that, but then like Rex Burkhead gets random stuff. So.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope. Let me read a quote from Lovie Smith real quick. I mean, I hope because he already took Rex Burkhead had 0 rush attempts this past week.
Yeah.
Lovie Smith said on RB Damian Pierce. This was tweeted by Dan Wiederer. He said, we as a football team need to finish better. I haven't said that an awful lot to Damian. He finishes plays. He's what we want to be. Toughness, extra effort, all those things you talk about is exactly what we see from him. So it truly might be Dame time. It truly might be. And it looked really good. He took over the snap share this past week. So
Yep.
yeah, I'm excited.
All right, y'all continue. I'm gonna head out.
Thanks for joining us.
Sure.
Yep.
But yeah, like, okay, moving off of Damian Pierce, we've got to finish this matchup discussion between Horace and Zed real quick.
Yeah.
Zed's team, a little concerning because of Derrick Henry
Yeah.
not being himself. And I think we saw it coming a little bit because I kind of waned off a little bit off of Derrick Henry. I wasn't comfortable taking him in the top 4.
Yeah.
I was probably going to take Dalvin. Dalvin, we'll talk about him
Yes.
once we get there because there's some concerns there. But more concerns for Derrick Henry because of what defenses are able to do without AJ Brown. They're able to stack the box completely, and they have no problem doing it. No problem.
Also, with Taylor Lewan getting hurt,
Mhm.
that's another issue. And to be honest, I don't think this Titans team is going to be that good.
I
I
said
still think the
before
Colts win that division.
I thought,
Yeah.
I said before the season, I would not shock me at all if the Titans are terrible and have a top 10 pick.
Yeah. So the Colts will probably win the division.
Mhm.
So I think Matt Ryan and company will get it right.
They should win the division. It's off to a horrible start, though.
Yeah.
Horrible
But
start.
like that division's weak anyway, so I'm
Yeah.
not too concerned.
Yeah.
The Titans, I think they're going to be behind most games. So Derrick Henry probably should have been in the back half of the first round. I don't think he was even a top 6 pick this year.
I just wasn't comfortable with him, and it really hasn't looked good because you're just able to make Ryan Tannehill make the plays because there's no receivers on the team, no proven guys at least. Traylon Burks has a lot of talent,
they have Robert Woods. Like,
but again, it's
he's
Robert
not getting
Woods.
playing time.
Yeah, older Robert Woods coming off a severe injury. So, yeah, Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry can't be himself, then it's looking really spooky for Zed. I hate to say it, but
Yeah.
because you need top tier talent, and right now on Zed's team, in my opinion, the top tier guys are Herbert, Henry, and Pitts, and Pitts hasn't even been. And I don't even think it's Pitt's fault. I think it's Arthur
Yeah.
Smith completely in their offense. But if things
What's your
aren't,
panic level there?
my panic level on Pitts is probably like a 4.
I
It's
think
probably because-
I'm at 6 right now.
Probably because I'm betting on the talent so much and I love Pitts. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping. I mean, Arthur Smith got grilled on it this past week, so maybe
Yeah.
because like that they're 0-2. They're not expected to win much, but still, those were 2 winnable games for them.
Mhm.
They came back against the Rams, and if you're not featuring the most talented guy on your roster, then there's going to be some questions being asked. So yeah, for Zed, like if his top tier talent, Justin Herbert's off to a good start. If Henry and Pitts aren't what we think they're going to be,
It's going to be a tough year.
oh man, it's going to be tough. And I love you, Zed, but you got to get those guys going somehow because I mean, Darnell Mooney is your wide receiver number 2. That ain't it. That's not.
You gotta go. You gotta let him go. It's
I
time
think
to move on.
Chris Olave might have to see your starting lineup going forward.
Or even Devin Duvernay.
Yeah.
He's getting targets.
I think Darnell Mooney might be on drop watch, honestly.
I think you can drop him now.
Yeah.
Same
It's
thing with
not
Cole
working
Kmet.
for-
I think they both should be dropped. They
You
should
can-
not be rostered.
I dropped Cole Kmet, I think, in my other league, or I can't remember if I did, but
Yeah, I dropped all shares of the Bears that I had in all leagues.
and I'm not even sure I'm comfortable with Alan Lazard as my flex play. I'm really not. I'm not there yet.
I think I'm
I'm
okay
good.
with it. But in week 3, we'll get to that. And that's something I want to be.
For Zed to really compete for a playoff spot here, I mean, he's lucky to be 1-1 right now, which is great. If he was 0-2, I would tell him to probably make trades right away.
I think you make trades anyway right now and try to sell high on on Kyle Pitts. So because you still have that name brand. You still get the name brand. I think you can possibly get decent value.